Hello, everybody, and happy Halloween to everybody who celebrates. I'm not one who celebrates, to be honest. I'm too old for that stuff. But you know who's also been very scary this month, Seb? The Arsenal.
Yeah.
Because in the month of October, this is a fun fact, breaking fact that's been going around everywhere, and we haven't spoken about it because a game hasn't happened for more than a day, and we haven't spoken about it. Arsenal have become the very first club in the history of English football, not just since the Premier League era. We're talking about since the inception of English football to go an entire month without conceding a goal. We are talking about a club that is achieving historical stuff. We're going to talk about that as well. Of course, Arsenal advanced to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup to face Crystal Palace. We're going to get a chance to show up Liverpool in the next round. And after we beat Brighton 2-0 again to advance, goals from Ethan Nwaneri and Bukayo Saka. And yeah, we got a big game against Burnley as well to talk about. But make sure you're hitting the like button on Fire Them Cannons. Make sure you're subscribing. We every subscription to this point in time, we're still very early on as a channel, really counts. And of course, on today, back by popular demand, is Seb.
Hello.
And the last time Seb was on, I thought we had a really fun live chat that night as well. So really excited to keep going on talking about it. Seb, how you going, man?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. My sleeping pattern's dreadful, so 9 o'clock in the morning in England is really early for me, but we'll get going. So is it technically Halloween for you yet, or is that tomorrow?
No, it's the 31st of October.
Is that
November?
So you're late
We're
in
ahead.
Halloween, whereas I'm really
We're ahead.
late.
So, it's 8:34 p.m. on a Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, happy Halloween to everybody. They have these like StreamYard's got these little Halloween overlays, although it ruins my nice Fire Them Cannons one. Like, ugh.
Yeah, we don't want
that. No. All good. Seb, how you feeling? How you feeling about Arsenal right now? Obviously, it's been, as I said, we've gone 1 month without scoring a goal, which is historic, and we're top of the league. And it seems like every single week. Last time you were on, we were 4 points clear of Liverpool, 3 points clear of City. Now it's 7 and 6. Like, how are you feeling at the moment in terms of where this season is going for Arsenal?
I'm still extremely confident, even when you got to take into effect that the next few games, Liverpool and City will be playing each other. So at least one of them is going to be even further behind. Liverpool have got Aston Villa as well. A resurgent Aston Villa have won, I think, 4 games in a row. I am fairly confident, especially since people were moaning we've started scoring more open play goals. Obviously, we played Brighton in the Cup and we still won 2-0. Another big thing for me in that game was we played a far weaker side, still didn't concede a goal, still didn't look like we were going to concede a goal. So the fact that we had basically a whole new back line and the standards were still kept there is a great sign for me. It flexes how good our squad depth is, that the fact we can go to a cup game. We played our under-18 striker up front. He was so close to scoring. I would have been in tears if he scored. That would have been so good. But obviously Saka came on and scored. But just the fact that we've got quite an easy run up. Obviously we've got Sunderland. Sunderland have been good, but their underlying stats aren't as good. They've got very similar underlying stats to a team like Nottingham Forest. It's just they're overperforming at XG right now. So Sunderland will tip off at the moment. But the other best team in the league so far has looked like Bournemouth, really. And they changed the whole back line. So they'll eventually drop off. I really do hope it gets to the end of the season and someone like Sunderland or Bournemouth does get top 4. That'd be great. But I just don't see.
Can you imagine, by the way, Sunderland?
I'd just be
finish top 4.
I'd love Palace to get top 4 just because of how good they've been building. I think that they deserve it as well. But I just don't.
I feel like you want a team that's going to rep England as well in the Champions League. Like, you know what I mean. So I think Palace would do well in the champ. I mean,
as long as they kept Glasner, I think is a big thing.
Yeah, because at the moment they're in the Conference League and their form is still not great in the Conference League either. So they kind of got to earn their stripes. But yeah, Glasner has got them playing so well. He is such a good manager.
But
honestly.
the big thing for me is how good we are, but just no one else. Like at least that season when we finished 2 points behind City, we were really, really good. But City was also still world class that stage. Just no one's anywhere near us, even on the metrics. No one is. So it makes me even more confident because I just don't see anyone else overtaking us. And there's no chance Liverpool in the title race anymore. No team's ever lost the amount of games they've had in a row. They've got one win in 7 games. So I just don't see it getting better for them. Everyone at the start of the season was saying, "Oh, they'll get better. They'll start gelling together." And in fact, it's just gone the opposite way. And they've got worse and worse. So the fact that we're good and everyone else is absolutely terrible goes in our favour.
Yeah, no, look. By the way, I've got this for my other show. I just want to use it, but I want to. Wait, is it even in? Oh, it's not even in this style, is it anymore? No, because I had it for my show the other day, and now I'm going to use this all the time. So on the topic that you just was bringing up,
where Anton was right.
Okay, that's the last time I'm going to do that. No, so I was doing this. I was doing this show where I was like saying, like all the takes I did on the terrace, and I was like the one, and I admitted when I was wrong about stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because I also had this one, right? See, just so everyone knows, I'm not very egotistical. I had this
where Anton was wrong.
But you've got to be balanced with it, haven't you? Not everyone's right. Well, apart from my fiance, she says she's always right, but no one else.
Yeah, my girlfriend also says she's always right. You know, so it's gonna let her be right. So
to be fair, it was quite funny when we were watching the Brighton game in the midweek because she says she don't like football even though she watches every game of me, but she was like, "Oh, the tempo from Arsenal's not really that good today." She was like, "Do you think it's because of all the changes?" And I'm like, "Yes, probably. Yeah, that's actually a very smart thing to say." Yes. So I was astounded by that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, nah, big up to the Gunner girls and wives out there and fiancés. David, thank you, my bro. Thank you for also giving us that comment in the chat, and I appreciate the love. I appreciate the love, brother. Of course, everyone who doesn't know David, check him out on his Instagram, on YouTube. David Speaks Football. Man, you might be pretty happy at the moment, bro, because United are doing the business. You know what? David Speaks Football is always. You know what, David? I will actually credit you that. I think you've been right, except for on one thing. And if you're still here, I got to call you out. You were wrong about Ruben. You were definitely wrong about Ruben. He's turning their things around. What do you think? Can Man United be Arsenal's challenger for the title? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know, because at the moment they're more consistent than Liverpool. They have the same amount of points as City, same amount of points as Tottenham, I think.
Yeah, well, they're the most backed team to win the Premier League now is Manchester United. So I think Manchester United fans are getting reasonably excited, but they are playing some decent football and the underlying metrics are better than a lot of teams. So there is an argument for it.
Yeah, look, that's sort of the thing, and so I think we'll get into it because we'll talk about Brighton as well. And you mentioned Anus, who made was that his debut for the club the other day?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So very spectacular performance for him. But I just kind of want to discuss kind of why a lot of us Arsenal fans are being a little bit cocky at the moment. Here, David goes, one game at a time. If we're honest, Liverpool hit the post 50 times against us. Brighton could have easily turned it around. One game at a time. Ruben could easily fall apart as quick as he's won 3. I think that's a very fair point. I mean, and look, I say it tongue in cheek when I'm saying that I think Man United is our main title rival. It's mainly just kind of, I'll be honest, I'm taking the piss a lot out of Liverpool and City at the moment because I felt like everyone kept. As the season kept going along, and by the way, we're like 1/4 of the way through the season, everyone just kind of like, as Liverpool was faltering, everyone was sort of like kind of ignoring the fact that Arsenal were really good. Like, actually, I think City now is my favorite. And then I'm like, well, I haven't seen much from them either. Without Erling Haaland, he didn't score the other day. Nothing. Like, now, granted, the others scored in the cup, so congratulations to them. But but like that's just kind of the way I feel. Like I say it jokingly, and I'm like, hey, is anyone out there wanting to challenge us? We really would appreciate having a challenger.
Well,
And
City.
I'm actually kind of serious about that.
The thing is with City, Pep can't do what he did before, but just because he had such a good quality of squad, he could just play his tiki-taka football, outpass teams. He can't do that anymore, especially with Rodri out, because they're not the most physical side in the league. They get outmuscled by a lot of the smaller teams. But
Which is
I think it's like
crazy how quickly that turned around.
Erling Haaland does 60% of their goal contributions right now. When just their wingers, I think more pressure needs to be put on Phil Foden. Everyone gets on Saka when he has a down period. Phil Foden hasn't been good since the year he won. He wasn't very good last year. He hasn't had the best start this year. So the fact that City just don't
I wouldn't even call him a starter for England anymore.
No. Palmer is miles ahead of him now. But yeah, I think the thing is, it's just like the other challenges are just not there. And our defence is so good right now, as David says. I think the defence, it's just like that people can't even get shots on target. And I'm sorry, that shot on target that Crystal Palace apparently got from Nketiah wasn't really a shot on target. So the fact we're not even conceding shots on target, let alone goals, even when we do, like even in the game in the league, we changed 3 of our backline. We changed Declan Rice, and there was no drop off at all. You bring in Mosquera. I thought Hincampe has been fantastic when he's been playing. Lewis Skelly was brilliant. He just brings something different to. I think Calafiori has been fantastic, but obviously they've got very different qualities in them, which is good because you want different quality in the squad. But obviously, as David says, defences are one of the titles. Obviously, we can't get fully carried away because it's still so long in the season left. We're not even halfway through yet. But if this is still a similar situation at Christmas, I think people need to start taking us seriously. But everyone is still trying to, like you see on social media and everything else, they're still trying to take away our title already by going, this is the most boring team to ever win the Premier League. They've killed football. It's just like, you're just salty right now, especially Chelsea fans, considering they won the league under Mourinho playing like this. They have a good defensive record for a reason, but I don't personally care, especially when we were getting criticised last year for the games against Newcastle, Palace, Fulham, where we didn't find a way to beat them and find a way to score. Now we're using set pieces to do that. And by the way, to get corners and set pieces, you get them from open play. So it's not even like we're playing open play poorly, but it's a weapon. Like you get those and you take them. It's such a good thing to have in our arsenal, especially because teams are scared when we do get them. So why would you not use them? And it's not up to us to stop doing that. It's up to everyone else to figure out a way to stop us doing that. They can't, so we're going to carry on doing it. The open play goals are starting to come, 2 against Brighton, and I'm expecting, obviously following into the game at the weekend, that we should really be battering Burnley, really. They're doing a lot better in the table than their stats suggest. They're conceding the most shots out of any team in the league. I think they're conceding 12 to 14 shots a game or something like that. They're only getting about 8 shots off a game. So they're doing really well with the chances they've got, but their back line is very susceptible. I've triple captained Gabriel in my fantasy this week, which is a big risk. But I got panicky because I'm top of the league in my fantasy league, and someone's gone 1 point behind me. So I need him to come out clutch this weekend. But we should be beating them fairly comfortably. I know it's away from home, but Burnley have not been that good this year in reflection to where they are on the table. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we can cope, because then we're playing 3 o'clock, so we're playing before everybody else. So that puts even more pressure on the other team.
I love that. Can you imagine we can go 10 points ahead of Liverpool with a victory before they play?
So it's putting even more pressure on our rivals of winning first. So 3 o'clock kickoff.
I mean, can you imagine, by the way, City and Liverpool go out to kick off 9 and 10 points behind? Like, that is massive pressure. Are you kidding me? That is like saying, like, you either pick up all 3 points today or you are out of the race.
Like, it's crazy.
Even in 22-23, when we had the 8-point lead, that was our highest lead at all in the season, right? And they had games in hand. I believe they had like 2 games in hand as well.
Yeah,
in that time, which people forget.
Yeah, like, people always love to stick that we bottled it, but City had 2 games in hand against. Granted, one was against Tottenham, so people were like, oh, maybe they'll lose against Tottenham, which they bloody should have. I hate human son from that, but they had game advantages on us. So, and it's City back then. You just give them the points anyway. So it was only realistically a 3-point gap, really. But
see, this is the point. This is the narrative that annoys me here, though, Seb. Right? Is that when people talk about City now, like, oh, they'll eventually catch you and stuff. It's like as if they're pretending like the Man City in 2025 is the Man City of then. And I just think if you're watching football with your eyes, it's clearly not the same thing. If you look at just even their form last season, it's not the same thing. That team is nowhere near as potent. They don't have the squad depth that they used to have with players coming at you at all areas. And it used to be overwhelming to play them. Like this time when we played them, I didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt disappointed that we couldn't get a second. Like, or I mean, of course, like it took us late for us to get the equalizer. But I felt annoyed that we weren't breaking them down, rather than feeling afraid that this barrage can come at us at any moment. I didn't feel the barrage. You know what I mean?
City have completely lost that aura about them that teams would be so scared to go up and play against them, and rightfully so, because the squad they've got. People will actually go at them now. You're starting to see it with Liverpool as well. It was a bit touchy-feely at the start of the season because it was still Liverpool, but teams are starting to have a go at them because they realise the vulnerabilities are there. So City have those vulnerabilities, especially like at the back. Rodri's been out injured. They're just not the same team without Rodri at all, and they just don't have enough. Everyone, especially on top six shows and stuff, everyone's saying that Gyökeres isn't scoring enough or forward line's not scoring enough. Our whole squad, we've got more scorers in our squad than any other team in the league. If our forwards are not playing well, you can see anyone in that squad scoring goals. Even Calafiori, obviously, ended up being offside. What a finish that was for his offside goal. So we have the strength and depth across our squad to score goals from. Whereas City, if Haaland's off, he's not on it. They don't even look like scoring. That Villa game, they didn't really look like doing anything until Doku came on, really. Like, Doku's finishing's not brilliant, but the thing Doku is really good at, he'll take on his man. He had the most one-on-one take-ons in the league last year. He gets crosses in. He had 5 crosses. He had the most crosses in that game, and he only played 20 minutes. So Haaland had chances, but they were just absolutely... They didn't look like scoring at all. And it wasn't even like Villa were completely sitting back. Villa weren't really trying to score, but the possession stats were still nearly even in that game. So it wasn't like Villa scored really early in that game, so you'd expect an onslaught from City to get back into the game, but there just wasn't on at all. So yeah, I just think City.
That's a really good point, though, Seb. Right? In the past, this is like a mental thing. When we used to hate watch, if you want to call the word, Man City games, when we were desperate just for them to get a draw in that towards that back end of that season, right? The one that we finished 2 points shy.
Yeah.
There was always this inevitability of, even if they went behind, you were like, no, they're still winning. I still feel like this team peaked too early. They scored too early. City's going to come back in the game. This time when I watched them against Villa and Matty Cash scores that goal, I actually said to myself, I just haven't seen enough from City so far in this game for me to suggest that even getting a point out of this. I felt like that's it. Well, I felt that. Like I felt during our game, like we scored a little bit after that, as a goal happens, like because obviously the games are happening at the same time. I had them both on at the same time. Our goals were about 10 minutes later than theirs. But once Eze had scored and Matty Cash had scored, I already in my head was like, we're 6 points clear. Well, I just didn't feel at all like City were offering any threat. They didn't. That inevitability is gone.
I think they're heavily missing De Bruyne right now because they just don't have that guy who unlocks defenses. Because obviously they brought in Shirky, but Shirky's been injured, and then Foden is just not stepping up to fill that void at all. You'd think by now the age Foden is coming into his prime because he was always there to try and take over from De Bruyne. But when you do lose a generational player like De Bruyne, you're even seeing it for Napoli. Some of the passes he's getting off for Napoli, they're missing him a great deal because it was even the Newcastle game last year where they were losing and then Oscar Bob comes on and scores that winner late on. It was a De Bruyne pass that goes through. They're just missing him so bad right now. They just don't have anyone who's passing into the final third at all. As I said, it took Doku to come on to pass even try and pass into the final third. They just don't have players. They keep safe passing it. Especially for me, Reinders has been such a waste of money. He just doesn't offer. He doesn't offer really anything in there. He's not even box crashing. He's just a player in there who will play the ball around. His pass accuracy is always going to be high because he'll just pass it around, recycle the ball. They just don't have the players in there who are taking the necessary risks that you need them to take. But City, for me, I think if they can get going, if Shirky comes in and starts performing, Foden starts performing, they've got Haaland in there. They have the full capabilities. I think they have more capability now than I think Liverpool do, just because of the problems Liverpool have at the moment. They do have the capability of trying to mount something, but they just can't get the consistency. They have got the most wins in 2025, which is quite maddening, really. So they do have the capability of it. It's just they're just not. Their new players haven't come in and set the world alight, really, and they're still heavily reliant on Haaland.
No, yeah, well, I mean, Shirky came on again to score in the cup. So like I've seen flashes a little bit from Shirky, and I think he's still kind of working his way into the team. Not just that he had an injury. I think that set him back a big time. I think a few of those injuries that they had, like, set them back. Who else got injured earlier in the season?
Savinho went down as well.
Ait Nouri got injured. That was a new addition for them. He got hurt. So
well, they're pretty much playing Mateus Nunes is a right back these days. Like when Mateus Nunes is one of your first choice right backs, that's kind of a problem for me.
Yeah, I mean, you really think about it. That's and I understand that people think that, well, Arsenal, they don't have the experience. What happens when you borrow? We had this conversation last week. I feel 1 week on from that, and maybe we're gassing it up too much after 9 games. So feel free to bring me down to earth when I say these things. But I actually don't feel that way anymore. Like, and it's nothing to do with us. Nothing has changed in terms of Arsenal in the last week, right? We've just continued to be consistent. But what has changed to me is that our rivals, all of them, are showing to me that they are not champion material.
Yep.
That's the truth. And by the way, in the poll, I put the poll up in the live chat. Who is Arsenal's main title rivals right now? I put Man City, Man United, Bournemouth, and Sunderland. And you notice somebody missing from that is Liverpool, because you lose 4 in a row in the Premier League or 6 out of 7. I can't. Sorry, I can't consider you to be a title rival anymore. I think it's too late for them. Honestly, I just. For me, they had the Man City game as well. It's actually funny. Would you prefer that game's obviously coming up next week, and so I'm going to have obviously Cal's going to be back in his seat next week, so I don't get this chance to ask you unless we're on another stream. But when Liverpool play Man City, who would you prefer? If one of them were to win, would you prefer it to be Liverpool now, or would you rather not wake them up?
I'd rather City win, just because I think they're more susceptible to still dropping points this season. I'd rather just Liverpool lose that game and it completely kills them off, because that will just completely, because then even City's going to go 4 points in front of them. I think if Liverpool lose that game, that's them gone. I think they're gone already, but I think that is them just, they're completely out of the picture. They're in danger of not even getting to top 5 if they're losing that game as well. So I would personally, I'd obviously rather a draw, but if I had to have someone to win, and I think they will win, I think it'll be Man City.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth because I've thought about the scenario that you just pictured. Like, I've thought about that as well. Like, a part of me doesn't want to breathe life into Liverpool, even though I'm kind of shitting on them. I feel like if Liverpool, if any game was to turn it around and win, beating Man City would be a jolt of confidence for them. But at the same time, in terms of the mathematics, I'm like, they're further behind. If let's say, like, do the math. Let's say we win the next 2, and let's just give them the wins this weekend, even though I have doubts. I mean, I have a feeling, like I said this morning, that I think Villa's getting points, but at some point Liverpool are just going to have one of these games where they're just like, fuck it. And they actually come, like, eventually it's some point in the near future, they're going to have to do something, because the slot narratives are, they're a bit weird, but they're going to start to get really, really real if they just keep losing and losing and losing and losing. And so at some point, those players are going to have to show, are we fighting for this manager? Because let's be fair to Slot, and this is why I give Slot credit. With all some people think that, he's going a bit nuts and saying weird stuff in the press conferences. A lot of the reason why he does that is to protect his players, is to deflect. Yeah. And those players owe him a good performance. You know what I mean? Like, regardless, like we talk about the tactics or whatever, they have well, a lot of people still believe to be the most talented squad, although you know how I feel on that. Yeah. But a lot of people think it. And so those players are going to have to eventually respond. But let's say for a moment that they win, both of them win this weekend.
Give me a sec. I just need to go get something a second. Hold on. I won't be very long. I'll let you run about Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll run. So let's do the math. Let's do the maths here. Let's say that Manchester City and Liverpool both win this weekend. I'll repeat myself when Seb comes back on. That would still be the same lead that it is now. Let's say, of course, that is if we pick up the points against Burnley. If City were to beat Liverpool, it would still be 6 City, but Liverpool would be 10 points behind the leaders. That would be insane. In the other respect, Liverpool beat City. Liverpool would be 7 points, and City would be 9 points. I'm just wondering which one we would prefer at that point in time. But yeah, let me know, guys. As well, I'll remind you guys in the poll, who is Arsenal's main title rivals? Let me know. Just answer the poll question. Of course, make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to Fire Them Cannons. We're on the road only to 100 at this point. So yeah, every single like, every single subscription counts. All right, Seb. So I just talking to myself or talking to the camera, to the people. I figured out the maths, right? So obviously, if everyone wins this weekend and we're just going straight to 2 weeks from now, it'll be the same count as now, right?
Yeah.
A Liverpool victory means they would be 7 points behind, and City would be 9 points behind. A City victory means City would still be 6 points behind, but Liverpool would be 10 points behind. Which of those two sounds more comfy to you? Having a team at 6 points behind us as of those two, or 7 and the other one being 9, or one being 6 and one being 10?
I think it may be the slight PTSD, just because
obviously the draw was the one. That's why I haven't said it, because that's the obvious one. But
I think killing off Liverpool is great, but I think as Arsenal fans we're going to have a little bit of PTSD with City, just because being in a title race with them is very scary. Whereas like the last time we were in a title race with Liverpool, they ended up dropping off near the end anyway. But I think completely killing off one team, I would favour still more. But hopefully, touch wood, hopefully it'd be a draw, because then they both drop points. But I would still opt for, especially because
a draw would make that 8 and 9, that's the preference for me, obviously, because 8 would be the closest distance of either of them. So,
so we've played Liverpool away already. So if you do think about the return, I would say we're more likely to beat them at home than we are to beat City away. So I think that is 3 points extra. So you could go with, I hope Liverpool win, just because I think we can beat them at home. So that's a 3 point differential anyway. But yeah, so I think I would rather, I think I'll stick with City win just to kill off Liverpool completely, because racing against one team is a lot easier than racing against two anyway. And I think City will end up dropping points regardless. I think both teams will drop points regardless, but the fact that we're in such a cushy position when this is even a conversation is crazy to me. So I'm loving every minute of it. It's quality. But I went to go get my iPad to try and look up something, but my iPad's dead.
Oh.
I wanted to know, because obviously the biggest title collapse ever was Newcastle. But what is after that? Because obviously, if it's getting to like 9-10 points in front, has a team ever recovered from being, without a game in hand, by the way, without any games in hand, has a team recovered from being 10 points behind before?
But legitimately 10 points behind. Yeah, right. No games in hand. That's a really good question. Does
apart from obviously,
can I ask Chat GPT? Do you reckon Chat GPT knows, or
maybe?
I'll ask Chat GPT. Has a Premier League leader ever blown a 10-point lead? Question. He's typing. He's thinking. Yes, in the Premier League era, there have been instances of teams leading by double-digit points and still losing the title. Here are a few notable examples. Ash and Kane are going to love this one. Newcastle United in 1995-96 had a lead of 12 points in January and February and ended up losing the title. In 1997-98, Manchester United had an 11-point lead at one stage and surrendered it to the Arsenal. Yeah. So
there isn't
two
like a modern
in the history of, but again, the history would still back us. It's only two instances.
Yeah.
In the Premier League era, by the way. So this is because I wrote Premier League, so I should have. But yeah, I think that works well.
There's enough. There's not a modern example, because both those are like 20 years ago. So it does give me a lot of faith. And let's be honest, the gap could get even bigger than those teams. I think it would take, for us not to win the league from here, obviously touch wood, I think it would take quite the injury crisis to fall off that badly. But I think what Liverpool
and Quest was saying to this morning, and by the way, big up to Quest. I love Quest. So when I say this stuff, it's fully just out of the nature of us being rival fans and jostling back and forth in the conversations we have, just as a disclaimer. But Quest said, and it annoyed me, you can see how I snapped back at him. He's like, Arsenal, if they had two injuries, that could completely collapse the season. And I'm like, are you paying attention to how many injuries we have now? 2 injuries is nothing. We had 2 injuries on the weekend. Like,
to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if like Liverpool, for example, see themselves too far off the league, and then they, like what we did last year, and just end up focusing on the Champions League, because there is still a real possibility that, because the Liverpool's pedigree in the Champions League, there's still a real possibility
really good point.
They could win that, so they may just end up putting their eggs in that basket. The same with City, because a cup competition is completely different. Because PSG were absolutely dreadful for half of the Champions League last year. They didn't really get going until they beat Man City in that playoff. So there's always a possibility of those teams doing well in those competitions. Obviously, for Arne Slot, I think a lot of Liverpool fans were disappointed because the League Cup was a realistic target for them to get. Because even in seasons where Man United have had drop-offs, or City, they've still managed to pick up domestic trophies. So I think for Liverpool fans, they were extremely disappointed that Arne Slot didn't take the League Cup seriously. And I don't think he did at all, especially in this post-match conference where he's just saying, no, that's the tournament we use for the youngsters to get minutes. And that's a tournament that Liverpool have won in recent memory. So it's just throwing away stuff. But I do think Liverpool end up. My prediction for winning the Champions League before, I was going to go Bayern Munich, and then I ended up bottling it, and I said Liverpool.
You said Bayern Munich this morning.
Yeah, I just Bayern Munich looks so different. Like the fact that Liverpool have lost Luis Diaz, and he's looking so good for Bayern Munich. I actually never thought
Luis Diaz was a bad player. This is the thing that annoys me. I feel like Liverpool vilified him. Like, I think there's a reason why he may have wanted to leave the club, because I don't think he was appreciated there. Even when he was there, people were talking about them signing a left winger, which they never did, by the way, even after they sold him. But the way people used to talk about Diaz and Nunez as a combination, I don't know how Nunez has been getting on in Saudi. It's because he's popped off the face of the earth. But yeah, Luis Diaz has been incredible playing for Bayern. He's upgraded, and we've got to play them in 3 weeks or something like
That
that.
will be. I think that's the litmus test for us and Bayern, because obviously Bayern will just rout the Bundesliga anyway. They will win the league there, but that's a real litmus test for both sides. It's the best team we're going to, in my opinion, that we're going to be playing all season. Our record at Bayern, record playing Bayern in general, is absolutely terrible. They're the best scoring team in the world right now. They're just obliterating everybody. The thing is, I made a TikTok when
That works well for us, though. That works well for us because when they come to the Emirates, they're going to come to attack, and then we get to see what Arsenal looks like.
But
in open play, because we're going to get it. We're going to get it in that game for sure. No way does Vincent Kompany come with that team and tries to play low blocks in the Champions League. No way in hell.
Well, yeah, because we're scoring far more open play goals in the Champions League, because you see it in the Champions League. Teams come at you because they want to come at you. But I remember making a TikTok after Luis Diaz left, and I genuinely was like, I'm so confused why so many Liverpool fans are celebrating this. He's so crucial to that attack last year. Yes, he didn't get as much Diaz Salah, but the ball carrying he did, he'd get chances, he'd create XG. Even Darwin Núñez, the amount of shots he'd get off in a game, he'd create chances for himself. You'd rather him be dangerous, like unpredictable, and get those chances and get those shots off, rather than having a striker up front who's shot shy, for example. But I do think they're missing him a lot. They're missing Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't care what any Liverpool fan says; they'll celebrate him leaving, and he is the best right back in the league. You can't.
This is where Liverpool fans have got themselves in the mud here, Seb. Right? Because this is why everything's on slot now, which are why I'm trying to kind of defend the man a little bit, is because they celebrated some really important players of theirs leaving, and they have too much of an ego to go back and admit that those were incorrect decisions, that they missed Diaz. So I see Liverpool fans, especially on the terrace, who are complaining about their inability to create chances. Like, oh, it's the defense of Alexander Isak is, oh, well, he's not getting the same chances that Darwin Núñez did last year. Like, we created all the chances of Darwin Núñez. We couldn't create anything like that for Isak. And I'm like, well, you know what was a really important ingredient for how many chances you guys end up creating? Luis Diaz. Like, that Luis Diaz was the one he was putting them in point blank range in terms of for some of the chances. Even when they played us, he always used to keep ripping us open, especially that game at Anfield. We came back to draw with them last year. He was an absolute nuisance, and he set up chance after chance after chance for them. Like, that's something. Like, they all excited. Yeah, look at all the money we're going to get for Diaz. What a flop. We got a great price for him. And I'm like, okay, you just got worse.
Like, yeah, they were celebrating again. I remember we were on the TFT, and someone obviously made that social media post and was like,
Trent, by the way, Trent is another one.
A better upgrade. It's just like the amount of chances Trent created, because obviously Wirtz in a way was Trent's replacement on that creativity end, obviously not positionally, but creativity, and they're just missing it so badly. But it's just like Liverpool fans are getting very stubborn, and they just don't want to even think about that being a possibility, when that's what I was saying on the Football Terrace yesterday.
They're protecting the signings. They're protecting the players.
Yeah. But I was saying it on TFT yesterday. I was like, yeah, they've spent a lot of money, but when you actually look at the numbers, the amount of players they got rid of and important team players they got rid of, it's not like they spent 400 million built on the Premier League winning squad. They got rid of a decent chunk of that Premier League winning squad and had a turnover in that. So yes, there is a transition there. You can't just get rid of players that played most of your games last season and then expect the same level of consistency there when you're bringing new players, especially when you're bringing in players from the Bundesliga, for example, that haven't had the best historical record transferring over from the. We've seen quite a few players struggle, especially Wirtz's physicality. He's very much struggling with the physicality of the Premier League.
Well, like, number 10s can come from the Bundesliga, just in general. Like, we have a version of that in our club, Kai Havertz, who no longer is a number 10. But he was literally a prolific number 10 playing in the Bundesliga. He was the next Mesut Ozil, or actually Thomas Muller was more the comparison made with him, right? And he came to the Premier League, he struggled with Chelsea, and we had to literally bring his confidence back from the floor. And that involves switching positions and trying him in different places until we figured out he could be a number 9. Like Wirtz is coming in, he's got a similar arc for me. Actually, the one thing that's I find it interesting, the one German who got a lot of slack from our fan base was Mesut Ozil, who I thought when he came to the Premier League, for instance, it took him less than 10 minutes to get his first Arsenal assist. Do you remember that game away at Sunderland? Speaking of Sunderland coming up next week, at the Stadium of Light, he found Giroud, and that was within the first 10 minutes of the game. And I was like, damn, Arsenal are back. Oh, I was so gassed that game. I don't know if you remember that one, but like,
it's just
that's because he came from Madrid. I feel like players coming from La Liga have a higher success rate in the Premier League.
Well, we're kind of seeing more that like transitioning from the Championship tends to be quite a good idea because obviously the physicality of the football is very similar. But the thing is, when you're transitioning from these other leagues, because of how good in quality and depth the Premier League, I think that's what people are missing here when they're saying the Premier League is getting more boring. Just the quality of opposition in every game means there's going to be less goals because the games are closer together. Like the quality in there, even from the promoted teams, are going and playing these teams and are in games. So you're obviously going to have less goals when games are more competitive. Whereas, especially the way funding works in other leagues, especially in Spain, where the TV rights deal only helps create a gap. So teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, Bayern Munich, in their league games are not playing the level of opposition that Premier League teams have to play week in, week out, which does, you would say in one way it gives them an advantage because they're not having to play as intensely as Premier League teams are. I think that's why PSG, like near the end of the Champions League last year, PSG were basically playing their second side in the league because they'd already had the league wrapped up. And then in the Champions League, they could just play their full strength 11. But when you are buying players from the other leagues, because there's such a dearth in quality between the top sides and the smaller sides, it creates a problem, especially when Bayern Munich have a monopoly on players coming from the Bundesliga, which is why I was surprised that Voltemada didn't end up going to Bayern Munich, for example. But I don't think he was going to be too happy being understudy to Kane. I think he wanted to start straight away. But I do think he'll end up back at Bayern Munich once Kane's done, in my opinion.
I just thought about something that you're bringing up Voltemada and Bayern Munich. Do you think Florian Wirtz's career is different if he stuck to his original decision to go to Bayern? Because obviously he changed his mind along the way because Liverpool made an approach because he was on his, I think originally, like when Man City came in for him, he basically said, oh, look, I prefer to go play for Bayern, right? And then when Liverpool came knocking later, he was like, and then he picked Liverpool. Do you think he made a mistake? Because I think that he actually probably would have advanced in his career. That's my opinion. Had he joined Bayern instead, it's massive for him playing for Germany ahead of the World Cup. For him to be a Bayern Munich player, he'd be putting up the numbers in that team with Diaz, with Michael Olise, with Harry Kane. I think he would be lighting it up, and in a league where he's comfortable with. It's no coincidence when they went to Frankfurt away. That's when he broke his duck in terms of GA.
I think the thing is with that, I think the only caveat you have there is Bayern have Musiala in the same position, but Musiala
they know each other. They have a great understanding with each other.
Musiala has quite the injury concerns, so he would be playing minutes already this season. But that would be scary if Bayern had probably 2 out of the 5 best young talents on the planet. But for me, if the only team as an Arsenal fan, the only team I'm scared of is Bayern Munich, especially because Harry Kane just loves scoring against us. You know it's going to happen. Like even a couple of seasons ago, we were at Bayern in the quarterfinals. We didn't look like we were in the game a lot of the time. So they are the only team. So that's the one game I'm looking forward to, because if I will know the quality from us, especially in the European competitions, has taken a step up. Because if we manage to beat Bayern Munich, I'm not even saying comfortably, but we're in the game, we beat them, and it's a deserved win, then that's going to show the level for me a lot more, especially because obviously I think Bayern are so good. I think that will make other people as well. People are still sceptical about Arsenal. I think that has to wake them up and go, hold on, we were saying Bayern Munich are better than this side, yet they're beating them. That's why it annoys me a lot of the time where, oh no, Real Madrid are clear of you guys, we're near, but we beat them comfortably last season with injuries, with Mika Marino up front. They had Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo. we still managed to beat them fairly comfortably. So I think people need to put more respect on us.
And Saka was half fit as well. It wasn't even like a fully fit Saka.
No. Obviously, we do need to win a European Championship, but people need to put more, because obviously we haven't won one. No one respects us in that competition at all because you never won it. You don't have the experience. But we got to the semi-final last year for a reason. We were the best team statistically in the whole tournament. Obviously, PSG picked up near the end, and it ended up deserved winners. That's the only thing I feel sad about, because if we played that Inter Milan team in the final, we would have won because they were awful. But the only team that measures up against us statistically in the Champions League is Inter Milan's has been slightly better than ours. They haven't conceded a goal yet. Inter Milan haven't conceded a goal yet, so they are still a decent side. But Bayern Munich, particularly, the only ones that they're the only. He's the only guy that I come up against William Saliba and Gabriel and go. He has the physicality to match them, and his finishing is just. He only needs half a chance, and he will score a goal. So yeah, the litmus test for me is going to be. I think we passed the litmus test in the Premier League, but the litmus test in the Champions League will be what we're going to do against Bayern Munich. If we can perform against them, even if we get a draw, I'll be happy. But yeah, for me, that is going to be a big test. Is that Bayern Munich game?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know exactly what I'll be saying in the post-match at the terrace if we win, right? You heard it this morning. Yeah. That would be a confirmation, like on all levels of what I've been saying about our squad, because that was one of the contenders this morning. You really had to say, hey, take a look at Bayern squad, take a look at PSG squad, take a look at Madrid squad. For me, I've already ticked off Madrid. We've beaten Madrid, and that's the team that I feel like still on paper wise has got a good enough squad, is because of some of the big names that they can put on their bench. But yeah, if we were to beat Bayern convincingly, especially at home, we're having a good conversation. And I do want to talk a little bit about the Brighton game, and of course about the coming up of the Burnley game. I also want to. Scott Parker said something in his presser that I found was very, very interesting. But one thing I wanted to say on this topic is, if the Premier League continues to go the way it's going, and we do have a comfortable lead, that bodes really well for our chances in the Champions League. That strengthens our ability to go ahead and win the Champions League. If we are comfortable in the Premier League, you can be like, okay, that one's in the back pocket. Although, no one ever likes to hear you say that. But just to think that in the back of your head, like, okay, that's a pretty comfortable position we're in there now. Maybe we can rest a few players against X team and get ready to play whoever we are in the Champions League and be ready to go. Because I think I still feel like this is going to be a magical season, Seb. And I know people are going to clip me up the more and more I say this if this falls. But this is why I just keep talking, because I'm very confident that it won't.
Well, I think when people clip up people, you need some context. At this moment in time, we are clear of everybody else. No one else looks good. It will obviously be a different scenario if we get to January and City have picked up, they're battering everybody. Then obviously we'd have a different outlook if there was another team who was chasing us who were also good. But just because, for me, it's not even just us. It's just no one else there. And even I think that helped City when they ended up winning the treble. Was it got to the back end of that season, we were picking up so many injuries. I remember playing City in that run-in, and we had Rob Holding at the back, and we got absolutely spanked. And that just kind of locked off the title. So then City in the semi-finals and finals, there was a little less pressure on the league coming in. But it is a good point. Obviously, it depends who we get in the knockouts, because that will put more pressure. Because if we get like a PSV Eindhoven in one of the knockout games and we battered them in the first leg, that second leg we just pretty much rest the whole squad. So it'll be heavily dependent on who we do get. Because if we get out of, obviously Liverpool won the league phase last year and then just got PSG, so it's just like it doesn't even matter how high up you really finish in that league phase. So
I think it's changed now because they've changed the rules, they've adjusted the rule. Because I agree, and Robbie from AFTV kept saying it, like, it's ridiculous how you can be a top seed, first seed, second seed, and play the first leg at home and the second leg away, like just due to a draw. They were way too draw reliant. I think they've done that too much in the past anyway, where it's too draw reliant, regardless of the group winner or not, even in the quarterfinal or semifinal stages. I just felt like it was weird. Like if you were a group winner and then the team you're playing came second, but they're somehow in the same round as you, and then they get the second leg. That happened a lot as well. So it wasn't just last year, but now they finally fixed that. So that's why I think, like for instance, Slavia Prague next week, I still want to play a strong lineup because I still want to pick up another 3 points, kind of get us into a really, really strong position on that table. I think that's kind of what that was invented for. So we don't go and be like, oh, it's Slavia Prague, we'll rest guys. You know what I mean?
I think if we had Slavia Prague at home, then I think you could put a reasonably make a lot of changes there. But because it's away from home, you never know. You know what the nights are like in the Champions League. You can't take anyone for granted, really. So we do need some stronger. To be honest, if we go back to the Brighton game, I wasn't too pleased. I was wanting changes for the Brighton game.
Really? Of all people, you're always the one who's like finds the positivity in Arteta's lineups. And you were
it was just the amount of changes we had. Obviously, it worked out in the end because we ended up winning. But when we're coming into that game where we had Dauman on the right-hand side, a teenager, we had a teenager up front. There wasn't really. That was crazy. That was a big risk. I think people have overlooked how much of a risk that, because if we went out that night and we had 2 teenagers in our front line, the Arteta hours would have fully kicked off. But obviously, Arteta proved me wrong.
We were talking about this very thing that, like, on the last podcast, previewing that game, and we were like saying, like, for instance, Saka came back from an illness, and we were like, no, this is Brighton. This isn't Port Vale. So he's going to have to play Saka. I was thinking that he was going to play Zubimendi just so he can have some sort of one of the two, Rice or Zubi, in the midfield. And given that Rice came off with an injury scare, that would probably be Zubi. And I was surprised to see. I was like, I wouldn't be against the idea of Max starting. I wanted Max to start against Port Vale, but I wouldn't be surprised if Saka started just because of the fact that it's Brighton. And I just think that, you're right. It was a very big risk. But like, and by the way, Victor Gyökeres didn't even come on. I was actually thinking that Victor Gyökeres would be a guy that he would sub on. I'm happy that he didn't because he got to have a full 90 minutes of rest. And my brother made a really good point, which in terms of like, he's basically been playing nonstop since he came here because Kai Havertz has been injured. And he must be fatigued, especially coming into a new league. Like, so it was good that he didn't have to play, but I was convinced that he would when I saw that Anus was still. By the way, I got to admit, I never heard of Anus. I think he was on our bench last season. I don't pay attention as much to the academy players as much as I should, but I remember he was on our bench last season in multiple games. He never came on, obviously, because he was filling out that squad. But I was impressed with him in the game, by the way. What do you think about his performance?
I thought his hold-up play and his play was actually really good. Obviously, he did get a lot of chances to shoot a goal, but his hold-up play was fantastic. And obviously, coming up through the ranks, he would already have relationships with Dauman on the right-hand side because they played a lot together, so you did see that. Dauman was fantastic. The only thing, obviously, he's a young player, so obviously his decision-making isn't all that. There's quite a few times where he'd already taken 2 people on, beat them, and he'd have players running in behind, and he would still try, because I think he's trying, because obviously he's young, he's playing for Arsenal, he wants to show off how good he is, and everyone knows what quality is. So obviously that decision making will come with age and as he gets older, where he could have played the ball for a few times. But the way he was taking on and dribbling people, but the reason why I was when I was a little bit worried when this lineup came out, because our record against Brighton isn't very good at all. So it was a banana skin fixture. And let's be honest, in the first half, they had a decent amount of chances. Their finishing was quite wayward, but they did have a decent amount of chances. Obviously, in the second half, we kind of took control a little bit more. But I do think it was a bit, because even Lewis Skelly, people forget how young Lewis Skelly is, even though he's played a lot of minutes. The midfield was completely rotated. Ben White, obviously, coming in with a lot of experience, that's fine. He can play his first start. There was a lot of areas.
What do you think about it in Capia? I'm really curious because obviously I've been bigging him up. I actually liked what I saw. I actually thought he did me pretty proudly the other day, like playing at the left center back role, especially that time when who was it? Norgard gave the ball away, and hits a sweep in. He literally like went across Mascara to stop a chance. And that was like he won it clean. I thought Hincapie was brought to the table exactly what I thought, which was high energy, great effort, great recovery pace. I thought he was actually probably one of our better players on the night. What do you think about your first taste of Piero Hincapie?
I thought he was fantastic. He was marshalling that back line. The experience, because he does bring so much experience. That's another bit about the experience debate is, yes, he hasn't played in the Premier League and whatever Tosin has. He is an invincible. He has that experience to marshal a back line. He was a big part of that invincible team. And the fact that we have him on the bench as an option is just astounding. It shows the level of quality that Arsenal have got to, that a player who is a guaranteed starter for a big European side has decided to come to Arsenal, granted it's only on loan. And he is going to be on the bench a lot of times, but he wants to show the quality he does have and he wants to fight for his place. But that's what's so good is like Saliba and Gabriel have to play to their top level. They have to because of the quality they have in behind them. It's so easy to go, right, Gabriel, you've had a bit of... We've
This
got
is
him
what I
now.
love. Like, we're talking about our amazing defensive record. I think one of the key parts to this defensive record, obviously, I think, because the other three for me are completely solid, it's Calafiori's play. Because Calafiori has, from year 1 to year 2 in an Arsenal shirt, and of course, year 1, he spent a lot of it in on the injury table, but even his performance, it was very quite erratic. Sometimes he felt, especially also even in that first game at Old Trafford away, I also felt a little bit unsafe with him there. But Calafiori's play has been key for me. And if Calafiori wants to keep it, like I'll tell you, I swear, if Hincapie wins that left back spot, he's not giving it up because he is that type of player. Like, but what's good about that is that Calafiori has no other choice unless he gets injured to maintain the standards he's been having. Like,
Yeah.
and that only benefits Arsenal. You hear what I'm saying?
I think the thing is with Calafiori, he's given so much freedom. He's the one player on the pitch that Arteta can go and he just lets him go. Like the amount of times the one player that's running into the box is Calafiori, but you saw that for Bologna, even though he played at centre back for Bologna. The amount of final third entries he had for that team, he was a real catalyst for Bologna, and that's why I think we wanted him. Obviously, we saw the quality that he could bring in going down and through the team. So obviously playing on the left, he could be very dominant on that side, and it gives space, especially to like Martinelli and Trossard on that side, because he can just overlap and he'll just burst straight through. And then we can rely on our back line to keep it stable at the back and let him wander. It gives him the freedom. But I do think, obviously, he was injured a lot of parts, but I think you've seen this season why we missed him last year. Even though Lewis Skelly was so good, they do have very different qualities about them. They're very different players, which is also good because you can change it up. I think you'll see Lewis Skelly maybe try and see some minutes in the midfield as well this year, because obviously he is a midfielder. He's been a midfielder his whole career, Lewis Skelly. So you may see him in more minutes because obviously
I think as we start, we're at Halloween now, right? So as we start to get towards Christmas and the fixtures, like after this next international break, really is when we're going to start to play a lot of games. That's why I'm not concerned about the playing times of all our players, because they're all going to get sufficient playing time. And I think that's going to be the perfect timing for guys like Havertz, who potentially could be on his way back. I was actually reading that Havertz is not far away. I was also listening to Perry Groves. He was speaking about it yesterday on TalkSport, that he was told that Havertz is not far away from returning to training, which I think is only going to be good for us in terms of when the fixtures start to get congested. But yeah, guys like Miles, who haven't really gotten a chance to play as well, because Calafiori, I think he was, let's be honest, originally signed to be this back four. This back four was Arteta's plan A even last season. But like, so now he's actually kind of won back his job. I still think that Miles is going to play a key role. And what's really awesome is that every time he does play, he's been very, very good. He was good last week against Atletico. He was really good. And let's talk about that goal, right? The goal scored by Ethan Nwaneri, because that was a great piece of play by Miles Lewis-Skelly, but even a better piece of play from Eze and Mikel Merino. That little backflip, like,
that just
absolutely amazing.
That goal was like
that open play, ole. There you go.
That goal was the epitome of like, that's a goal you'd see under Arsene Wenger. It really reminded me of like that goal we scored against Norwich. It was just constant back heels through to Jack Wilshere. It was a very Arsene Wenger goal, that one was. But it does show that there's that quality in there that we can play like that, especially when you have more technical players on the pitch. Because obviously, Wanyeri is a very gifted technical player. But you see the quality. That's why at the early of the season, I was defending Mika Marino a lot, and everyone was saying, "Oh, he's playing a really defensive midfield." I'm like, Mika Marino is not a defensive player. Earlier in the stages, he was playing very conservatively, but I think that was on instruction from Arteta because he wasn't making those late box runs, and he wasn't dictating the way he does for Spain. But he is an attacking player. There's no doubt about it. He's not a defensive player, but he is obviously a good replacement for Declan Rice because he has similar qualities, the box crashing, the shooting ability. But Mika Marino is a great attacking asset for us, especially since Kai Havertz has been out injured. I am very much looking forward to Havertz coming back. He is my favourite player overall. I think
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know this. You're the first person I've ever heard, first Gunner who's ever told me that Kai Havertz is their favorite player over Bukayo, over Rice. Really?
Yeah. Kai Havertz, I think it's just from the moment we signed him, he just got absolutely ridiculed. The moment we got him and the work he does for this Arsenal team, the clutch goals he was scoring. We were in a title run. We lost by 2 points with him up front. It wasn't like he wasn't scoring goals. He was so important from us. There's a reason why Saka looked so much worse when Havertz wasn't there, because Havertz would take up two players, he'd play him in, he'd drop deep. And it's just like, he's such a good player. He does so many good things. Even when you look at his underlying numbers, he'd rarely drop below a 7. Even when he wasn't scoring, he'd do so much for the squad, but then he'd get so much stick. It was the same with like Mesut Ozil near the end. Mesut Ozil could have a good game and everyone would still be like, oh, he's lazy, he's not doing enough. Kai Havertz does so much for our squad, and you saw that last year where he did get injured and we were struggling to score goals, because in that title running, he would just pop up and he'd score crucial goals. He scored Luton against, obviously, the big goals against Chelsea, the Brighton game, the big one for me, the Brentford game, where he comes on, scores last minute. He's such a clutch player, Kai Havertz, and there's a reason why every manager who has signed him has loved him. He's such a good player, and he's the physicality. I feel so sorry for him at the start of the season, because obviously he did so much work pre-season to build up muscle, to get stronger, to get more physically fit, and then just gets injured immediately. There's a reason why Germany have so much quality and they still play him. He's such a good player, and I think he will accompany Gyökeres so well. The only problem I had with Havertz is when he was playing so well up front, and then that game against Villa, he then just dropped him into midfield and then played Jesus up front, and then all our balance went in that game in that title race. That was the only mistake I remember Arteta really making, but he will be crucial when he comes back. He'll play a lot of minutes. He can play in various positions, but there's a reason why the last 3 seasons Havertz has been on the back of all my shirts. I love the man. He's so good. I'm the biggest Kai Havertz fan ever. I love the man, but yeah, I think he will play a lot of minutes when he comes back. The only thing with me I find really weird with the Gyökeres debate is suddenly now I've been defending this man for like 3 years straight, and all of a sudden now he is the saviour, and when Kai Havertz comes back, he's going to be starting over Gyökeres. He's so much better. And I'm like, but the last 3 years you've been saying he's dog, and now we've got the striker that you've asked for. Now you want him replaced with Kai Havertz again. So it's just like, you can't have your cake and eat it. You either want this striker to play.
You cannot believe some of the conversations I've had.
I'm the only person on this platform that can go, I want Kai Havertz time, because I'm the only one that's bloody stuck up for him. But he will get minutes. Kai Havertz will come back. Jesus comes back. People forget how good Jesus, for 10 games he played last year, was unbelievable. So I think when Jesus comes back, I think you'll see
saying best squad, and that's why I keep saying we're the best squad in Europe. Like you just keep adding on to the. That's what when we're having this conversation this morning. I know I started with Norgard. By the way, for the viewers, for context, go back and watch a 6-sided on the Football Terrace from yesterday. Both me and Seb are on, so you'll get context more what we're talking about. But yeah, when I started out with, because what I was trying to say was like comparing like guys like Norgard, or I feel like is like the bottom of our bench, which is, by the way, captain of Brentford is one of like that's kind of what I was trying to highlight. And then instead you're like, hey, Norgard, like, look at the bottom of Bayern's bench. My point was, look who's at the bottom of Bayern's bench. Look at who's at the bottom of Arsenal's bench. I'm just trying to give you guys some perspective. That's what I was trying to do. But like when you talk about guys like Jesus, who by the way he came in, hit the ground running at Arsenal. He was at one point probably our best player when he first came, in terms of a more productive player. That first season before the World Cup, before he took the break for the World Cup, and what happened to him there and wrecked him, whatever. But he was our best player, and he's like completely written off. We're thinking about selling him in January. He can come in and if he's fit, that's a bonus that nobody's counting on. That's how deep the team is. That's our third choice striker.
I want to see Jesus. I want to see Jesus start playing on the left. I think him up front I think that'll be a really big thing. But Jesus is probably, apart from Saka, I think, is the most technically gifted player in the squad. The moves he does have in his locker is unbelievable. It's just been so unfortunate.
Can you imagine trying to break down a low block and we're in the title run in,
and we have
all of a sudden we got Jesus to come off the bench and he just starts moving a 3 or 4 defenders, and then you're like, everyone's like, crap, fucking hell, we have to deal with this pain in the ass.
He's such a gifted player that we have missed him. Last year he was unbelievable when he was playing. I remember being at the Emirates for that Crystal Palace quarter final. And the finishes he was bringing out of that game.
We got another Crystal Palace quarterfinal.
Yeah,
it's starting to look like deja vu. By the way, when I saw the other way the teams are still remaining in the draw, I'm like, Chelsea or Newcastle is what I'm thinking. And we play them both in semifinals of the Carabao Cup in recent seasons as well. I'm like, this is freaking deja vu. I don't know. Like maybe it could be City or it could be Chelsea. No, who's the other one? It'll be ourselves, right? So the other one is City. It'll probably be City. I think Chelsea's going to go through because they play Cardiff. They have the easiest draw.
Yeah, they should even go for that game.
Newcastle. Who do Newcastle have again? They have
Newcastle are at home. I know they should be going through. They have Brentford. Was it Brentford or City?
Man City's play Brentford.
Who's the last one? Because obviously we went through. Brentford went through. Fulham went through.
And they just beat Fulham on the weekend as well. So that's a question I have. Considering we'll close the cup, because I do want to talk about Burnley in this game, because I think the Burnley game is very much relevant to the conversations we're having in terms of the title, and I think we cannot underestimate. This is the first time I've done a preview for a Premier League game in a while, because generally I'm doing in revert. Yeah. Oh no, we did the Palace one last week, the two of us. Anyway.
Yeah, we previewed
it just feels like it's been a really long week with all the games we played and all the chatter and all the narratives that happen during the week. I think the more the other teams lose, the more we're able to talk about during the week and the more shows we're on. So I just kind of lose track of time. That's why it feels like it's been an eternity. But okay. I don't want to overlook Palace, because obviously Palace just beat Liverpool, and I think we have the hardest draw of anybody in the next round. Yeah. But let's just say we were to make it into that semifinal. Do you just not fear anybody? Do you want to avoid? Are there teams that you want to avoid? Or like, would you mind getting a revenge against Newcastle? Because that's over 2 legs. Given how hard it was for us to beat them this year as well.
Out of all the teams that are left, I would rather, out of the big teams that are left, I'd rather Chelsea, just because I feel like Chelsea are more likely to open up and play against us more than any of the other teams. We know Newcastle.
I just think they're incapable of playing a low block.
I just think Newcastle are like the antithesis of us, where they're so good defensively. They can just score a goal and sit in, which worries me a little bit. Obviously, City surprised me on how defensive they were against us, but I think over 2 legs, they can't afford to just park the bus against us. And they do have Haaland there as a weapon. Haaland's there's always a chance of him scoring. So if I was going to rank it, I'd rather have Chelsea by a mile. I'd much rather say Chelsea. Then I'd probably say Newcastle, and then I'd say City just because of the Haaland factor. But City and Newcastle are close for me, but by far, give me Chelsea. I want Chelsea. I think we'd beat them comfortably.
Christy's in the live chat. She goes, I have a feeling this year is Arsenal season for both the Champions League and Premier League. She's just been sitting next to me, listening to me talk over and over and over and over and over again about that exact topic. So she's just a reflection of my opinions, which I love. And I'm sure your fiance does the same stuff.
Yeah, she'll sit there. Sometimes it goes one ear out the other, but you gotta have a sounding board. You gotta have a sounding board. It's always nice for someone to go, yes, that's definitely right. Yeah,
I know. I'm literally just telling her about like the things I'm going to talk about where I'm on the show and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, did you see these comments? And she's like, don't worry about the comments. Like, just don't even read them. Like, who are these people to you? I'm like, you're 1,000% right.
So I'm fairly surprised that like I'll go on live, I'll go and read stuff, and I'm like, oh, let's see what stick.
I don't know why I read it. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm curious, and then I'm like, why did I fucking read that?
But I'm like, we say pretty similar things, I'd say, but I never get really. And the only time I've ever got a hate comment was when I said United were good, and some people were like, oh, you're talking crap, they're rubbish, and I'm like, well, I've just been proven right because they're now fighting for top 4, but I don't seem to get any. I don't know why, but I think it's Ash.
That's what's crazy.
Takes the heat off of me, which is lovely. So I don't get it.
It's what freaking drives me nuts. I get it. I'm like, I can be very in your face and very overly positive and like very combative as an Arsenal fan, and I think maybe sometimes it drives people the wrong way. But what you said today on the terrace was exactly the points verbatim that I pointed out in the post match yesterday. And everyone was like, Anton, shut the fuck up. Anton, you don't know what you're talking about. This guy, what does this guy bring to this platform? All this stuff. And by the way, it's not Liverpool fans, it's Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then you said the exact same things today that I said yesterday. And
I don't know if it's the way. I don't know if it's because you present it with more chest than me, and maybe it's the way I because I would say you're far more excitable when you're talking, whereas I tend to say stuff in a very calm manner.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it is, but I genuinely don't. I don't get any of it at all. So fingers crossed that I don't get any hate comments because I'm not really getting any at the moment. But
to be honest, who really cares? Like when I see people say, "Hey, what does this guy contribute to this platform?" I'd be like, "Ask Terry Flores."
Like I uploaded. I upload most of my content on TikTok just because it's easier, so I get match reactions really quick. I did one of Tottenham, and half the comments are they're just nice comments from Tottenham fans. They're going, "Oh, this is the most down-to-earth Arsenal fan. Oh, he's so unbiased. It's so refreshing." I'm like, yeah, give it to me. Just because I try and be as non-biased as possible, just because it's a far more interesting footballing debate when you get rid of all the bias. I don't want to listen to a Chelsea fan going, "Oh, I hate Arsenal, they're crap, blah, blah." It's just boring, right? Talk about the games. I can see the quality that Tottenham have. This is the qualities they have. This is their deficiencies. And the fact that I've backed Tottenham, especially as an Arsenal fan, I've said on the terrace and gone, I think they're better than Chelsea right now. I think they're doing better. I think they have a better manager. They have a better structure in place. I think Tottenham are in a better place than Chelsea right now. And that's an Arsenal fan saying this.
I do think
Obviously,
so too. I don't
hope
think they're going to batter them like the question asked this morning. But I think that I think they're thereabouts. I forgot which rankings I do. I'll look back and look at it. But here's the thing. Like if Eze never signed for, it's so funny because I've been looking back at because I was doing that video I was doing about Anton right, Anton wrong. I was looking back at literally all of the segments I was on just to pick out all the crazy shit that I said so I can figure out and kind of did I get that one right? Did I get it wrong? And prior to Eze signing, I was saying that I think Man City is going to win the league was one thing I said before the transfer window. But I did say, give me to the end of the window and I'll change my mind depending on what happens, which I did once we signed Eze. And that's when it started ticking off from there. Because prior to that, you know, I was sitting there like, oh, I don't know if we got enough in our squad to win the title. Like it's just. I feel like I'm not that much of a biased fan either. It's just that when we are good, I'm not going to let our rival fans detract from that, and I'm going to fight against it.
Well, especially the amount of football fans that do go on the TFT and do reactions, That's why I always felt when I was just a viewer, when a gal would come on and it'd be positive and everyone would shoot him down. I felt so
I love the
sorry.
gal.
for him.
I love the gal.
He
I
got
tell
so much
him
shit
when we're on the
all
screen
time.
together. I'm like, gal, like honestly, you literally speak my mind. I love it.
I love
like-
him. I love his positivity. I just love his enthusiasm. Obviously, sometimes some of the things he says, he has put his foot in it when he was like, obviously, the Real Madrid thing is aged
Real Madrid
well
thing was
because
good.
we beat them, but he was like, oh, yeah, we've got far better. And it was just like, a gal, sometimes
The
you do
comments
just
say- I love to see the comments
to
go, "Oh, this guy Anton is like a gal but worse." I'm like, I'm not putting combined 11s of Real Madrid. Like, I'll tell you that much right now. I'm not that shameless. But
Yeah.
I digress. Anyway, we'll close the topic on Brighton, then we'll quickly talk about the Premier League game. I just want to give a shout out to my brother who was on here the last episode. He said that he guarantees that one of Arsenal's goals against Brighton would be a signature Bukayo Saka goal. I gotta give him a round of applause because he hit that one nail on the head. So, bro, if you're watching, which I know he does now because now he's obsessed with this channel since he was on, and he's been like, yeah, congratulations. I was very thoroughly impressed. I'm very proud as your brother to see your debut on YouTube at all, and for you to make that sort of claim and for it to hit right away. I was like, yes. I was really happy to see Saka score. Anyway, moving on, and I know that you gotta shoot soon. We have Burnley on this weekend. We have to go up to Lancashire, and yes, Burnley is a team that I think has played above expectations for me this season. I think that even Liverpool, like this is where the litmus test in this sort of respect is for me, is that I made fun of Liverpool for not being able to break down Burnley if it wasn't for a gift from God, as I kept saying, like the handball from Hannibal. I want to see Arsenal. I mean, obviously, we're just going to deal with what we're always dealing with, which is low blocks and trying to counteract everything, cancel us out. We know that's going to be coming. But one thing that was interested and that I saw, I don't know if you've seen this, Seb, and I will put it on the screen share. Basically, the interviewer asked Scott Parker if he thinks Arsenal, literally point blank, if he thinks that Arsenal play boring football, and this was his response.
Is it playing on yours or not? Anton,
Yeah.
nothing was playing.
Nothing was playing?
No.
Oh, right, because silly me. My bad. See, I look like an idiot. Here he is.
There we go.
Here we go. I'll start from the beginning. Literally, this happened to me. I filmed an entire video a couple days ago, and the sound wasn't working, and I was like,
Well, that's the thing.
and I was
Like when I
had
went
to throw it
on,
out.
I went on the football terrace yesterday on the exact same way I usually do, but for some reason my camera
Yeah,
quality was.
I watched it
dreadful
back. My
yesterday.
camera quality looked bad
Yeah.
too. I think it's to do with. I don't want KJ to probably watch this at some point. I think it's to do with KJ's internet, because all of us at some point were looking fuzzy. Where
Yeah.
I think Terry's got this super duper internet that like set up and everything from his house, like a studio, and we're
Yeah.
always looking crystal clear on Terry's studio. Like some people drop out when the internet's crap, but when we're on, we all look crystal clear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I saw everyone at a different point. Kunle was cutting out and his screen got fuzzy. Quest's screen got fuzzy. Ash's screen got all our screens were getting fuzzy at different points this morning's show. Anyway, Scott Parker was given the question. I'll go back to it again. How embarrassing that we literally had him and no one heard it before. But yeah, he was asked this question of kind of just one of these narratives about Arsenal, and I actually was really impressed with his answer.
What do you make of the wider discussion about the way that Arsenal are doing it? Very structured, very reliant on being defensively sound. They've incurred a little bit of criticism for perhaps not being as expansive as others might want them to be, but they're doing it in a very kind of particular, defined way, isn't it, stylistically?
I'm not sure I see it like that. When I'm watching them, to be honest with you, I see a fluid team, really. I see an unbelievably well-coached team, a team that solves situations, and of course there's a large element, or not a large element, there's one of many elements. I wouldn't say this is definitely not a team that just rely on set plays. Now, obviously, over the course of the last start of this season, there's been key moments where they've got wins from set plays. This is a well-oiled team and a functional team that are very fluid in the way they play, really. And defensively, like you say, is really a foundation. And it was probably something we lived by last year. Really gives you a bedrock, and they've certainly formed that. But yeah, for me, like I said, this is a top team and a well-coached team.
I gotta give credit to Scott Parker where it's due. He rubbished that right away. And by the way, we're talking about a former Spurs player. He doesn't have any love for Arsenal whatsoever. Scott Parker doesn't like Arsenal, and he was as honest could be. And he was like, no, Arsenal are a well-oiled team. He completely understands, and I think he understands the task that his team has to perform on the weekend. Like, what do you think about what Scott Parker had to say?
Well, he's hit the nail on the head. It's just like people will complain that we've got set pieces, but to get the set pieces in the first place, you need to create open play chances to get them. So he is completely correct. Obviously, Burnley, it's going to be a classic Burnley approach, a Sean Dyche approach of they're going to try and stay in the game as long as possible. I think if we get an early goal and they need to start opening up, then it could be an absolute battering. But I'm fairly confident in this. I think we will score a set-piece goal. I think Gabriel will be on the score sheet. He hasn't actually scored for a few games. I think his last goal was against Atletico, yeah. So the last goal he scored in the league is the Newcastle game. So I think he's due one. If a centre-back's ever due a goal, I think he might be on this one. I think the thing is with Burnley, they've been decent. I think their forward line have surprised me. I think their forward line has been really good, but they are still quite susceptible to conceding shots. They've conceded the most shots in the league. So I'm feeling maybe Gyökeres he will get some chances to score in this game. It's just dependent on
he's gotten a break. He got an arrest. So hopefully he's got fresh legs.
Yeah. So we will get chances to score. It will be up to us to finish the chances that we do get, but we shouldn't have a problem generating chances in this game. So it is away from home. There's obviously an element if you're away from home that it can get tough, but it is a game that let's be honest, we should be winning this game. There's no excuses for not winning this game. If we win it, it's going to put so much pressure. This is the games where in seasons past where we could have piled the pressure on and we haven't taken that opportunity. This is a time we're playing first. It's a 3:00 kickoff. The eyes could be elsewhere. All we need is just get the 3 points here. I don't care how it happens. It will be nice to get the goal difference up as well, but I think it will be a comfortable. I reckon 3-0. I think an early goal around 20
3-0 in my head too. I had 3. We agreed on the scoreline last week. I'm agreed on the scoreline this week. I had 3-0 in my head. But yeah, if you were gonna, by the way, I want to do this because we did this last week, and I did this with my brother, and both of you guys got it right. Because last week we said if there's gonna pick one player to score, we said Eze. Ellie, I said if he's gonna pick one player to score, he said Saka. 2 from 2. If you're going to pick if Arsenal scored only one goal this weekend, who's scoring? I know you mentioned 2 names already, but who do you think? Who's the one this week? Now, obviously, I have to match and agree with you because if I don't, then
I will go with just because I've triple captained him in the fantasy. I need him to score now. I'm going Gabriel. Gabriel will score from a corner, just to annoy everybody else.
Yeah, my one I had in my head was Victor Gyökeres.
Hopefully, Gyökeres. I do have Gyökeres in my fantasy team as well, so I would like him to score a goal, just from a completely selfish point of view. Both of them on the score sheet, beautiful stuff. I think both of them will score. I'll put out there now, I think both of them will score.
If Gabriel scores, Gyökeres also scores because the game opens up.
I think it will be around 20-25 minutes. We'll score from a corner. It'll open the game up a little bit more. But then I think Gyökeres will score. We will get chances. They concede nearly 12 shots a game. So there is 100% chance we are getting a lot of chances in this game, and I think we've been clinical this year, so I think we'll win by 3.
One thing I will say on the flip side, though, it's critical that we score first in this game, because if Burnley score first, and then I think it's going to be a really, really tough game, because they are really gonna.
They'll just park it. They won't even try to get in our half.
And then the fans going to get up. The fans are going to get up there, and we could be playing with fire. So we can't sleepwalk into this game. Like, I feel like they. By the way, the only team that's beaten them at Turf Moor this season is Liverpool, and that was just by a hair. So this is they've got a very respectable home record. We said the similar stuff about Fulham a couple weeks ago as well. So again, I think this is nothing new. Again, you know what the score was last time we went to Turf Moor? It was 6-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll quite get the 6-0, but there is a chance. There is a chance. But yeah, I am quite happy that the promoted teams do look good. I think Leeds genuinely look like a good side. They're in a positive XG right now. I think it's comfortable to say now, like Sunderland,
I think you can say that.
could play at the same level Southampton were all season, and they will still stay up. No team has reached Sunderland's heights and not gone down, not stayed up. So Sunderland are definitely staying up. I think Leeds will definitely stay up. I think Burnley will go down, and I think it'll be West Ham.
But the thing is, as long as Wolves are playing that badly, I think Wolves are almost at this certain point. Like, they got 2 points at the quarter pole of the season. If you multiply that by 4, that's 8 points.
I think,
like, if they keep going the way they're going, now maybe Chelsea sparked them to life like the other day. Who knows? But they've been absolutely abysmal. And
well, West Ham.
So I think that's one. That's one that's definitely going down for me.
The only one in West Ham's favour is they've got the best manager out of all of them. Nuno should keep West Ham up, but they do have players in that squad like Bowen, Paqueta, who should keep them up. But yeah, I think I'm really excited this year, because we're definitely going to get a top 5 race, and we're definitely going to get a decent relegation fight this year. So there is areas of the Premier League. I think the title race is going to be over by
no title race. That's
no title race.
You know I am very surprised we're having several conversations this early, to be honest, because I thought with the way everyone was buying in the summer, that we were going to have like not just a title race, but an arms race.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I'm so surprised. At the same time, I've been kind of speaking this into existence, but it's still kind of like, it just kind of smacks me like in the face. Like, is this real? Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
My estate agent is going to be here in about a minute for an inspection, so I'm going to have to hop off.
All right, everybody. Well, no, that's all good. That's all good for today. We've already done our scoreline predictions. I was going to ask you for an 11, but I imagine you're just going to say that the lineup is going to be pretty much what we expect it to be, which is the regular starting lineup, minus Saliba probably. But anyway, thank you so much again for coming on, Seb. So everybody, by the way, make sure you subscribe to his channel, to Seb's shirts. I've left that in the description below. Seb, thank you very much for taking part.
Thank you for having me on. Hopefully we'll talk soon again. Sorry that I've had to cut it off a bit, but
no, we're good. Right. Appreciate you. You give me a good 90 minutes, so you can ask from any player. So
yeah, hour and a half. It's a decent chunk of time.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody, that was a great stream. Everybody, make sure you're hitting the like button on your way out, and we'll see you guys on the next video, hopefully after another Arsenal victory. Anton and Seb out.